And welcome to Oracle Broadcasting Network. You're with Santos Bonacci for the next 2 hours, and it is the 4th of March. I know it's the 3rd for most of you listeners, but here it's Sunday the 4th of March, and probably had a reasonable summer's day at last for a long time. It's been very, very wet here in Melbourne, drizzly. All over Australia, actually, there are floods everywhere. So, not like 2 years ago when we had the Black Saturday fires, which killed over 200 people, or thereabouts. But anyway, summer has changed. The seasons have changed. Many things are changing. Many things are shifting. Welcome to today's show. Today I have a couple of very special guests and friends. I have Sandra, Karen and Rini. Are you there, girls?
We are.
I'm here, Santos.
Lovely. Thank you for joining me today. We're going to have ourselves a good time. We're going to talk about all the good themes, which I normally talk about on this station. A little bit of, metaphysics, a little bit of law, a little bit of sovereignty, etc. And are you in for that?
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Ready to go.
Ready and firing on 6 cylinders, as they say.
8.
8.
Yeah, we need 8.
Yeah, 8 cylinders. Yeah, that's about right. I remember I used to have, when I was young, in my younger days, I used to have a nice big, what they called muscle cars. You know, I was one of those guys, and I used to drag my car, and it was a fully worked 308 Chevrolet motor. You know, those 308s, and I had that car worked. I had double barrel Winchester carburetor on there, and oh god.
Did you win any races?
Oh yeah. I was really fast.
All right.
Yeah, I always wanted to be a one of 3 things: an actor, a racing car driver, or a musician. You know, I just dreamt of those 3 things as I grew up. I wanted to race, love racing. Oh, I love it. And I wanted to act. But I took the music path. There you go.
Yeah. I think that's the best.
I do too.
Yeah. It feeds the 3 aspects of the human being: the spirit, the emotion, which is emotion and psychic, and the physical. It's very healing for the physical organism.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah, and look, and there's also there's the 432 frequency tuning that is supposed to be a lot healthier than the 441 that we're using, the official frequency. So just they've shifted it slightly so that it wouldn't be as healing as the 432, but the 432 Pythagorean frequency is supposed to be even more healing, of course, because it has more harmonics, you see, and it's more efficient at harmonizing with all of the sound that there is, you see. But girls, I just would like to just a brief introduction. Would you like to start first, Sandra? What you do, what your path is? Of course, you're on the path of enlightenment and consciousness that we all are. So how about we go for a break and we start with that? Would you like to do that for us?
I'd like to.
Thank you. And welcome back to Oracle Broadcasting Network. And like the oracles of old, the Oracle of Delphi, the oracles of the Sibyllines, etc., let's hope we can also be oracles of truth and wisdom, and share with one and all some beneficial information from the path of enlightenment and consciousness. I mean, let's face it, here we are, deep in the time of the end of the cycle, which I'm going to explain a little bit about soon. And And there are many people that are becoming more and more conscious. I mean, a lot of people say that they're in the truth movement. A lot of people say that they're in the awakening movement or whatever it is. I don't see it like that. I see it that we are all just going to be enlightened and more consciousness if we so wish to receive that. And we don't have to stand under any banner and join the green, join the blue color, join the people with the cross, join the Jesus people over here or over there. Join. We all we need to do is join the universal love. I mean, that's good enough for me. That's all I'm doing. Sandra, you're going to just share a little bit about your path, and so we can get to know you a little bit better for today, please.
I'd love to. I was born Sandra Karen, and I have the gift of healing. It's been with me all of my life, but I sought after it for many years, studying after people, watching other people who were healers, so I could kind of learn how they did what they did. And then I found out it was in me naturally, and I started laying hands on people, and they get well, and people with bone marrow cancer get well, and pancreatic cancer, different things, and they would just get well after I'd lay hands on them. So I started working and developing it a little bit more, and as I grew in it, one time I even actually raised a man from the dead, which surprised the heck out of me when I did it, but it just happened. And as time goes on, I've kind of learned how to do some chakra healing and emotional healing with people, spiritual healing. I'm quite intuitive, and that's growing more. I'm starting to become a remote, what do you call it, a remote viewer healer, where you can see what's wrong with somebody by looking at them, and you can kind of tell what's wrong with their bodies. And that's starting to happen too. So it's just been kind of my whole life has all been around healing. But recently I started working with Tony of the Kilbert family, and he wrote a book and needed some help with it, and so I got the beautiful opportunity of helping him create an ebook, turn it into an ebook, and do the cover on it, and build a website for him, and all those things. And all of that was all a learning curve for me, but we got that all done, and so that's just some of who I am, and we'll go on to Rini and see what she has to say about herself.
Oh yeah, thank you. Please, Rini.
Well, I'm Maureen Elizabeth. My nickname is Rini. I'm older, retired now, but have retired quite early, actually, and have lived in Mexico for about 25 years. Just fell in love with it here. My background is that of a therapist, and I've been doing it voluntarily down here. I love the gentleness of the Mexican people, and I love their warmth. And I was meant to be here. The whole story of how I got here, etc., is an amazing one in itself, and I won't get into it, but there's no question. I came here after a tragedy, which was the loss of a second child, and I needed to be here exactly so that I could do the healing within myself. And from that point on, I have basically stayed here and done all kinds of healing work myself with people who have emotional problems, marital problems, substance abuse problems, loss problems, and it's all on a volunteer basis. In 2007, I got my first computer, and the first thing that I came across was the Edna Lane Brown case. And I don't know if you know of their case, but they were in Plainfield, New Hampshire, and SWAT teams, and oh my God, it was just unbelievable, came in, and it was primarily because they were questioning the law that said that they had to pay a federal income tax. And they were set up. They were professional people. She was a dentist, he was a builder. They had the this beautiful home. They went very public with it, so of course they were used as an example. And to make a long story short, she got 35 years in prison and he got 36. They were in their late 60s, and so of course that's a death warrant for them. From that point, I always knew all my life that something was wrong.
Renee, who was this again? Can you mention the name again?
Their name is Ed and Elaine Brown.
Oh, yes. I remember this case. Oh, my.
And I still write to her, and,
Wow.
it just broke my heart. So that was the first in 2007. And that was my first experience with my own home computer. And I started researching. I was a mad woman. And from 7 o'clock in the morning until 2 and 3, and there were times when I would sit at my computer and cry because of all of the lies and the betrayal. But I got very active on a Suri Juris site, and this one and that one and the other one, and met so many wonderful people who taught me so much. And then, of course, I came across Katie. And just absolutely knew that Kate was speaking truth, and we resonated. And through our conversations, I have become her adopted mother.
Wow. That's Kate of Gaia, whom I have had on this show a couple of weeks ago. I've been with, shared with Kate on the Oracle Broadcasting Network. So for the listeners, that's Kate of Gaia, and we're going to be discussing a little bit about Kate's situation, aren't we, in a minute?
And I had seen Kate, in that clip. But
hey, Renee, hold the thought. We'll go to a break, and just hold that thought for after the break. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Welcome back to Oracle Broadcasting Network. You're with Santos Bonacci, and I have special guests Renee and Sandra Karen. Renee, you were discussing your path, and we got to Katie. Would you like to continue?
Well, to make a long story short and not to, babble on, I saw that clip of Kate in court, a judge bows to sovereign, but then I lost track of her. And it was one night listening to your show that I heard her again. And so from there, I contacted her. That's how I hooked up with Kate.
Ah, lovely. Beautiful. And so you've been involved with that. And of course, you know about the Denique ultimatum.
Absolutely.
Document, lose the name, win the game. That's what I've been teaching now for 3 months. Look, 3 months ago, I was teaching people what to say when you... Oh, well, let's say 4 or 5 months ago. I was teaching people what to say when you go to court. Now I say, do not go to court. That is not a place for a true sovereign. That is a place of commerce.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, when Kate and I were on this show, we were discussing this particular document. Now, since then, Kate has been taken away from her home, and that was all done by stealth and secrecy and thievery, etc. But right now, we know that Kate is being held by the police. Is that right, girls?
Yes, she's at the station, and Travis was there observing, and he did say that the side door of the home had been bashed in.
Right. Okay, so basically Kate went back to her embassy Okay.
I,
And that's the position that she's holding and maintaining. Now, without us being, too scrutinising about the situation, we just want to share with the world that this is the situation, that Kate is now has been kidnapped or in custody, as they say. But it's a kidnapping because you can. That's the flesh, blood, living person. It is not a fiction or a corporation, and especially in view of the fact that Kate does not have a citizenship, for she has returned the name and has no name in their books or on their records. So it's a very, very dangerous situation that they're involved in. Yeah.
and it's apostilled also, and she has a passport. So she has like diplomatic immunity under international law, doesn't she?
Yes.
Right.
Yep. Absolutely. Yes, of course. It's a nation unto herself inside a bigger nation, and the bigger nation has to look after the smaller sovereign nation. So it doesn't look like she's been looked after right now. So this is a matter that needs to be known about and understood by as many people as possible. And I mean, the outcome of this is going to be really, really crucial for determining the future of the way the elites want to continue running this world, really. This is a big, big statement that Kate is making. And I know that after 2 weeks of not being able to go to her castle or her embassy, finally Kate made the decision to go there. This is going to be very, very crucial for us to see what is going to come of this. Like now, I mean, we've watched situations in the past where sovereigns have made a stand, but that was quite different. Think of Ruby Ridge in '92. Think of Waco in '93. There's been a lot of situations where people have just made sovereign communities, gone up to the hills and decided to not bother anyone and not be bothered by anyone, and along comes the SWAT teams and all the government artillery, etc., to tell them that they can't be free and we're going to kill you. And in fact, they killed everybody in Waco, and they killed a little baby at Ruby Ridge and a mother, I believe, and a little boy. He was only about 12 or something like that. So they murdered free people. Now, this is a similar situation. And since we are so close to the end of the cycle that we're going to talk about in the second hour, ladies, and I know you know about the cycle of precession, I know you're aware of nature's cycles, and we are privileged to be here at this particular time in history to witness some big changes. And this is one of the big cases of all time in history, I believe. This will be a very, very, very historical time, and we need to be in tune with what's going on with this. Send Kate some positive, universal, loving energy, because there is nothing else but love. And you girls yourselves know that Kate is all for love and consciousness and enlightenment. So this is a big statement. There's some dark forces that are dealing with some very, very light and loving forces here, and we need to watch the outcome. It's going to be crucial.
Well, we've already won, though, Santos.
Yep.
And I am a firm believer that good always trumps evil. And I feel very, very sad, actually, for the policemen who are involved, because they are being used. And they will be some of the first that the powers that be will go after. It's not only us, it's them too.
Yes. Yes.
And we need them as much as they need us. And I have a feeling that they're softening. We did see it in Spain at the Bilderberg conference, remember?
Yeah.
When the Spanish police crossed over the street and joined the protesters.
Yep.
And this is also the dawning of the age of Aquarius.
Yeah.
And I'm an Aquarian, and I'm still here, and I'm going to see it. I know I am going to see it.
Oh yes, yeah, that we know. There's and it's not so much about an opinion. It's not an opinion. It's something that you know and feel. It's on many levels that we can perceive this big climactic change that is coming. So it's beautiful.
And it's worldwide.
It is.
Look, you're in Australia, Sandra's in the US, and I'm in Mexico.
Right on.
And just think of the people who are out there who are hearing our voice. They're from all over the world. They cannot keep it hidden anymore. The truth always comes out. Always. Just last week, Timothy Geithner, the Secretary of the Treasury here in the United States.
Hey, hold that thought, Renee. We're going to go to a break. Hold that thought.
Okay.
Lovely. Catch you on the other side. Welcome back to Oracle Broadcasting Network. You're with Santos Bonacci and special guests Sandra and Renee. Renee, you had a beautiful thought before the break. How would you like to continue with that, please?
Yeah, well, the changes I see is I was just saying that just this past week or so, Timothy Geithner, who's Secretary of the Treasury, was detained by New York police and called in for questioning about what his involvement with AIG and Goldman Sachs was when he was CEO of the New York Fed. So that's a breakthrough, and there is a wonderful clip of Judge Napolitano and Shepard Smith on Fox News, and I never watch television, and especially not Fox, but the clip is right there. and
can I just say something? You know, I think it was only 2.5 years ago that I got rid of Fox. I was paying $100 a month, and then I thought, well, no, I can't. Nope. I called them and I said, just cut me off. Goodbye.
But it was, and it's such a propaganda machine, but it was on that station. So I think they're starting to really turn on each other big time. Then I also heard that Bill Gates was detained in China. There's rumors of that on Thursday. So, and he was questioned. So there's lots of stuff going on.
There's a lot of stuff going on. I've got inside information from a lot of different places, and I know I know that it's all over. You see, lies can travel for a little bit. You know, they're perversions and distortions of truth, but they have wings and they travel for a little bit, but they can't. You see, light, it's like the darkness, you see. There's no darkness in the light, but you can have a little bit of light in the darkness, you see. Yeah, and the lie you can give it breath, you can give it force, you can support it, you can align yourself with it, like a lot of these scary families like the Bush family and all these families that have terrorized the world in the last couple of hundred years. They support it, they're aligned with it, but eventually the fictions must be uncovered. Nothing will be secret that shall not be uncovered, say the scriptures. And the scriptures are very profound poetry, really. That's all they are. They're not from God. They're from wisdom, basically, philosophy. And but they do tell forth the truth, because it's wise men who have had their higher mind opened, their consciousness and their awareness and their God mind, the right brain activated. Therefore, they've had the witness, the one bearing witness. So they've written down their words. and their wisdom. And it has reached us to this day, you know, beautiful books like the book of Daniel, chapter 12. I love reading the book of Daniel because I understand it. It's pure poetry, you see, about procession and everything like that. But he said there, keep the words sealed, Daniel, because many will go around in darkness until the time of the end, and then they will open these scrolls. You see, a seal means to cover in allegory. When you seal a book, you seal it in layers of allegory. In other words, you hide and veil it. You veil the meaning from the profane who wish to, you know, who not to discover God and goodness. They just want to use and abuse these sacred texts, and that's what they've done. Actually, the elites, they've done that. But that's what Daniel was saying. Keep them sealed, and then in the time of the end, many would uncover these words, and they would return to the light and make themselves bright and white in the light of the truth. And this is what's going on.
Absolutely.
Well, it certainly seems that way to me.
Mm-hmm.
But one also has to be aware which Bible they're reading the scriptures from, because King James changed the Bible, and then recently the Schofield Bible, well, that was changed, and that was put out by the Oxford Press, which is owned by the Rothschilds. Hello?
Yeah.
And that is what seminaries in America are using. So we have to be very, very careful, because lots of things have been distorted.
Yeah, look, those books like King James, we know that he basically got all his best people. I believe Francis Bacon might have been involved in that, but they come up with the King James version in 1600 and I think it was 11 or something like that, the very, very early 1600s, and it has been used as a system of, as a book of pure control. It's all about control, because they have magically changed the words.
Well, they've even done more with the Schofield, which was in the 19th century here, around 1920s, and he was a snake oil salesman, for goodness sake. But anyway, love these characters. But they have all kinds of footnotes, you know, telling you how to interpret it, evidently. I haven't seen one. I've just read about it, and it has been confirmed. So, you know, I see God in nature. You know, all I have to do is look out on the Sea of Cortez and see the dolphins swimming by, and see a sunrise and a sunset, and, you know that there is some creative force behind this, you know, and I'm just a little part of it. And that's where I come from, you know. Mm-hmm. And then looking up at the sky, well, you're teaching me, Santos, I must say, and it's been a wonderful experience.
Well, there's a big difference between religion and being spiritual anyway. You know, I was kind of brought up in the Christian religion, but before that, when I was 7 years old, I was reading a little New Testament that my aunt had given me. And when I finished reading it, which took me a little while, when I finished reading it, I laid it down. The room was dark, and in my mind, I got this download of everything in there is not the way it is. And you know, Jesus didn't die on the cross. This didn't happen. That didn't happen. And I was like, what? I never said anything to anybody, and then ended up being, you know, taken into the Christian because of my neighbors taking me to church and that kind of thing. But all through the years, inside of me, there was something that said to me, geez, you know, it's just something's not right here. Something's not right, you know. And about 13 years ago, I had a spiritual experience. I love to dance, and I love music, and I dance and sing and twirl and spin, and I had this beautiful music on, and I was doing this praise and worship stuff, and the room filled with all this energy, like angelic energy, and I ended up flat on my face on the floor, and as I did, I couldn't get off the floor. It was like really a beautiful experience. And so I remember saying, oh, you know what? I just want to know who you are, what makes you tick, how you run this universe. I want to know, and I want you to be my very best friend in the whole wide world. And I made that comment. If you ever say that, to whoever the creator is, it took me on a spiritual journey for the last 13 years. Is mind-boggling, and it took me out of Christianity. It took me away from all that. I turned into a spiritual being instead of a person that went to church and believed a Bible that really truly is not what it is. And as Santos says, and I love his teaching, and that is because he teaches us, how to read the stars and understand how the universe is made. And that was part of my question at the time, or my statement was, I want to know how the universe works. And here I get to listen to this beautiful man that I'm talking to right now. His name is Santos, and he says, hey, you guys, look at the stars. Look what's out there. The age of Aquarius is when we're leaving Pisces. And he goes through all this, and I sit there and I went, wow. Did I get my prayers answered or what? If you call it a prayer, but, so anyway.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, look, I thank you for those beautiful compliments too, by the way, Sandra. But, it's so nice when this celestial phenomenon can be explained in our terms that we can understand, that haven't necessarily studied astronomy. Let's go to a break, shall we? And we'll continue this thought after the other side. Yeah, welcome back to Oracle Broadcasting Network. And we were talking about how nice it is when celestial phenomena can be explained, just like with a few graphs, a whiteboard, and explained properly. I'm really fortunate to have had a very, very astronomical sort of a mind from very young age. I remember when I was a young boy, probably about 7 or 8, I forget, because I was in a store with all these telescopes and toys and stuff, and I was just hooked on these telescopes, and I begged my mother to buy me this telescope. So I had to have it, and I knew I'd get it. And so I always wanted to sort of, I was looking at the moon and Saturn and stuff like that. And then I studied my charts, the celestial charts, and I got familiar with all the constellations, and that's what helps. When you know that part, when you know that the stars above, as all the philosophers said, are actually cells of the God, and cells of the brain, of the mind, of the universe, which is God, and basically astronomy was the studying the anatomy of the God. That's what they called it, you see. So when you know that, then you realize that what is up there is repeated in there, and our body works the same way that the galaxy does. It's the same pattern. There's no difference in the pattern. The patterns are always, they're fractals, and they're always the same. Little spirals. Everything is spiraling, you see. All of the motion in the universe that we see with our physical eyes is just spiral motions, energy. So, and it's beautiful that we are now we're able to understand this more so than we did years ago, you see, with the consciousness that's pouring down on us as the age of Aquarius begins fully, because it did begin in the 1962, and then there's a 50 period of cusp, and that 50 years of cusp where Pisces will end occurs on the 21st of December this year. So from 62 to 2012, that was the 50-year harmonic convergence, really. And so Aquarius begins with all of its air attributes and spirit attributes and enlightenment attributes, and we are going into the dragon's breath, the photon belt, where we will be blessed with a different grade of light, and we will be different kinds of light beings, because that's what we are. pure light.
Exactly. We're changing, you know. It's pretty interesting to see the changes that I'm seeing just in the people around me, and even in myself. You know, it's almost like our DNA is changing, and you know, I can do things I couldn't do before. Even with the healing stuff, I can do things I couldn't do before. I'm starting to read people's minds. That's kind of crazy, but you know, there's so many things now that I think are going to open up to us and change because our DNA is changing.
I agree.
Yeah. Yep. It's being upgraded, and that's what our beautiful, beneficent Father Fountain of Life, which we call the Sun, Helios, Jesus Christ, Krishna, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, Osiris, Bacchus, Dionysius, Sabazius, Woden, whatever you want to call it, but the name is always the one object. That object that we revere by virtue of the fact that it is the closest resemblance to the unknowable one that put it there in the first place. So we revere the one behind it, says Eusebius, the one of the founding fathers of Catholicism. And he was on the money, because that's what Plato said, and that's what Hermes said. It's the sun behind the sun. You see, because the occultists knew that we proceed and we emanate from the suns, and we return to the suns as we return back to source. So these are our fathers, our spiritual fathers. Yeah.
Right on. And another thing I've noticed too about the changes that are going on is more people are starting to walk in love and to think love thoughts. And you know, before you always saw people kind of attacking each other, always kind of looking for the bad in everything. And now it's like, oh well, let's just love. You know, let's just walk in love. Let's start being love. I mean, even my own little son, who's kind of walked away from everything in his life and was kind of bitter, is coming back to me and say, Mom, I found these really cool people, you know, they go up in the mountains and they're just, you know, they're amazing. And Mom, for the first time in my life, you know, I really feel like I belong. I feel loved. You know, I'm thinking, yeah, it's starting to happen to people without them even knowing it.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of wonderful, really.
Mm-hmm. It's beautiful.
Waited a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, look, what else is there left to embrace? I mean, the world has seen the folly of corporatism. They've seen the folly of wars and the military-industrial complex and democracy and, you know, communism that went up and then it went down, and fascism, we tried a bit of that, and Nazism. And, oh, for goodness sakes, come on. I mean, we're not little children anymore. And if we were a society where we were able to be responsible for all of our actions, then we wouldn't have any crime, because people would be responsible and they would be taught how to be responsible. Yeah. Simple as that.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
Natural law. All you got to do is live by natural law, which basically says I'm going to do no harm to somebody else, and I'm not going to do any harm to myself. I'm not going to bother anybody's things because it belongs to them. And you just let the natural law take care of itself. And as long as you follow that, you have no reason to have $10 million 10 million statutes on the book, you know, that you have to follow, and nobody could ever possibly know them all. Why not just keep it simple? There's 2 or 3 things that we just have to do in our lives, and that is to love other people and make sure you don't overstep your boundaries into what belongs to them. So hard. It's easy, actually.
Yeah,
it's not
really.
hard.
When you think of it, there's no such thing as man-made law.
Right.
You
Doesn't
can't
work.
Man can't make law. The law is there. It's there to be, and nature reveals it. This is why we need to go back to the nature and study her. It's not about spreading forth other people's intellectual property, because that's what Catholicism is. It's intellectual property. You know, your birth certificate, that's intellectual property which does not belong to you, so you shouldn't have it in your domicile even. It's all their intellectual fictional property.
Mm-hmm.
Remember Thomas More, and have you ever read the beautiful Utopia? He said there about how they dumbed down people back in his time. I mean, this is 500 years ago. What about now? And he said, you allow these people to be brought up in the worst possible way and systematically corrupted from their earliest years. Finally, when they grow up and commit the crimes that they were obviously destined to commit ever since they were children, you start punishing them. In other words, you create thieves and then you punish them for stealing.
Right.
And
kind
this
of oxymoron, isn't it?
well,
one direction and the other.
Well, that's what happens when you've got fiat currency out there, because you see, we're all taking 9-to-5 jobs instead of doing the good work that we were sent to come here to do, which is all about love. We've hopped on the bandwagon and we're getting our jobs. We're signing up to do jobs for the corporate fiction, and we're being distracted from that path, the good path. The job has taken the precedence over everything, and we've neglected this part of our evolution.
Don't you think that the path is really actually taking us back to who we really are, what we really are, and what we're really supposed to be doing in our lives? Don't you feel that way?
Yeah.
Yes, I do. I absolutely do. But I gave up a job or 9-to-5, that type of working, young, when I was about 38 or so, 40. And I was lucky I was able to do it. And I have managed to live very happily, and using whatever talent I have in a much more gifted way. You know what I mean?
Beautiful. Hold the thought, and we'll go to a nice little break.
Okay.
Top of the hour. Yeah, welcome back to Oracle Broadcasting Network, and you're with Santos Bonacci for the second hour. And hope you're enjoying the show thus far. Thank you for joining me, Sandra and Rini. I'm enjoying sharing with you, and we've been talking about the consciousness that is upon us and the cycles that we're in, etc. And we've also been talking about the path of the path of love. I mean, enlightenment, consciousness, whatever you want to call it. I mean, it's the most noble and wonderful thing that a human being can aspire to search out the loving way, the loving path that hurts no one, that seeks out the good for other people, to serve other people and want them to be happy rather than want to steal their oil and their resources, etc. There's potential for every single soul that is alive, that breathes the air, to turn to the light and just wake up from this world of commerce, this big beast that has ensnared us and that has caused us, as it says in Revelation, that those without the mark cannot buy or sell. It has compelled the rich and the poor into a system whereby no one escapes, whereby if you do not have this currency and this name, you can't do business. You can't do anything without this name, it appears, I mean, obviously I've defied that and proven that you can, and many others have. And Kate, our friend, who is now, obviously suffering and being challenged by this monstrosity of a system, because she chose to be honourable and follow the path of honour and be responsible for their own nation and their own person and soul towards the divinity, rather than having men with their legislation tell a sovereign or a free person what to do. I mean, it's not on. Simply, it's not on.
Exactly. And there's nothing more really ugly than commerce when you come to think of it. But, Santos, I don't think Kate is suffering. And I've been trying to communicate with her. And I feel she's really enjoying it because she knows exactly what she's doing.
Oh, yeah.
And she knows she's in purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we need to give Sandra some kudos here, because everyone was sort of fussing around in one of Kate's rooms, you know, well, what to do, this, that, and the other. And I said, well, can't you at least even call the police station and find out if she's there? Well, Sandra was the first to do it. I'm all the way in Mexico, so I was thinking, oh, well, you're so far away and blah, blah, blah. I thought there was someone right there and, you know, close by. And Sandra, you go ahead and you tell your story about how you talked with the chief of police. And then after Sandra called, I called from Mexico as Kate's mother.
That's a funny story. No, I got on the phone, finally got the phone number, and I called in, and I waited, and finally got a kind of a receptionist answer the phone, and so I told him, I said, I'm interested in hearing if you may have arrested someone that's a friend of mine, and I wanted to find out if he might be there because this person's no longer at the house on, I think it was Aylbrook Street or whatever it was, and she said, well, just a second, I'll let you talk to the chief. So I get through the chief, and I started my story again, and I told him
hang on to that, Sandra. Hang on right there. We'll go to a break. And welcome back to Oracle Broadcasting Network with Santos Bonacci. And we've been discussing some spiritual themes with my friends Sandra and Rini. And the thought before the break, was that you, Sandra? Can we continue with that, please? Yep.
Yes, I had reached the chief of police, and so I basically told him that I was looking for a friend that had disappeared out of her house, and I wondered if the police might know where this friend was. And he proceeded to say, well, what is this friend's name? And I said, we don't really go by names. I said, but I know there's something like the name, like something like Gaia. But he said, well, there's nobody here by the name of Gaia. And I said, let me describe her for you. I said, she's two-gendered. She's a musician. And that there was at least 300 of us that were concerned for her safety. And I was wondering if he might know if she might be there. And he says, if you're referring to Keith, yes, Keith is here and Keith is safe. And I said, well, is there anyone else there with her? Because he kept saying him and I kept saying her, you know. And I said, because another friend also seems to have disappeared from the house as well. And he says, well, there's several of them here. I went, oh, several, okay. And I said, well, I would just let you know that we're just concerned for her safety. You're sure that, you know, that's this person, this friend of ours, is safe? Yes, that person is, you know, yes, Keith is safe. He kept saying that. And I said, well, thank you. I said, just want to let you know that there'll probably be people coming to the police department in the morning to check on her. And I said, I thank you very much for your kind words and for, you know, letting me know that my friend is safe. And I hung up after that, but it was kind of an interesting, and actually he was very kind and cordial to me. He was not snotty or, you know, I understand that somebody had actually been in there earlier and was not given any information whatsoever. It was the way I approached it. I was really concerned for my friend, you know. So anyway, now Rennie, tell what she did. This is really funny.
Well, I had hoped that more people would call, like, and really jam the phone, you know. But when nobody else called, I said, okay, I'm going to call from Mexico. So I did, and I got a female first, and then she said, well, let me give you to the front desk or whatever. And I got a young man, and I asked him if, I said, I have reason to believe that you have Keith in custody. Oh, what's his last name? And I said, oh, he doesn't go by a last name. And I said, I got it on very good authority that from the chief of police that he is there. and I am his mother, his adoptive mother, calling from Mexico. And I need to know that my child is safe. So he tried to get a little snippy with me at one point, and I went to school with nuns, and there was a particular Mother Superior who I could mimic very well, her tone of voice. And she could castrate a brass monkey, I swear. And so I used that on him, and he snapped right to and became very, very nice. And I asked for his name because he didn't want to give me too much information. And he, after that little moment, he did give me his name. I asked him to spell it, and I didn't quite get it. And he said, I spelt it once. And I said, would you kindly do it again? I'm calling from Mexico, and sometimes the connection isn't so good. So he did. And I said to him, now, I said, I have a health problem, and I need to know that, I think I might have used Keith, is okay. And I said, so as one human being to another, would you please give him the message that his mother, Rini from Mexico, called? And he grunted. My ears heard a yes, but whether he does or not, I don't know. And then the next thing I also said, I said, you do realize this is going viral on the internet, and there will be a lot of people at the station in the morning. And I think I kind of exaggerated. I said between 300 and 500 people. Wishful thinking on my part, but who knows? Maybe. And I was hoping that by now Kate would have been released. I did leave her a message saying, call your mother as soon as you're released. I'd be willing to call the station again and ask if they've been released yet and have the conversation on air.
Might be a good idea.
Well, I don't want to aggravate the police because they are in a terrible, terrible, terrible position right now. I think the police really are caught between a rock and a hard spot. Mm-hmm. And they are human beings, and we do need to win them over.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
And so I did say to him, thank you very kindly for you've been very helpful. And he said, thank you, ma'am. It was really nice. I only had to pull my Mother Superior once. Those nuns do teach you something, Santos.
That's how you learn. Yes, it was worth it.
It has worked well for me in Canada, the U.S., and even here in Mexico. Every now and then, a tone
yes.
of voice.
The power of loving charm.
Yeah. Sometimes it's a little bit of tough love, but that's okay too.
Yeah.
So I feel that Kate is okay. I really do. I hope Isaac's doing okay.
Yeah, he's all right.
Good.
They know who they are, and when you know who you are, there's nothing they can do. They can only go through the motions for a certain period of time, and then it's over. And with that in mind, we'll take a break. Catch you on the other side. And welcome back again for the second hour of the show today. You're with Santos Bonacci and my special guests, Sandra and Rini. you know, when you look at the evolution of the race and where we are in time, sure, there are many people that appear to be sleeping like zombies in the land of the dreamy, and there are many that are awakened. But uh, I always like to, hear the wise ones sum up the situation about the cycles. And there's no wiser in my book than people like Thomas H. Burgoyne. I'm going to read something from the book The Light of Egypt. See if you can resonate with this, girls. Okay, so I mean, the philosophers taught us that we lived in a cycle 24,000 years, and we would go from gold to silver to bronze to iron. And this is how Thomas H. Burgoyne, in the book The Light of Egypt, Volume 1, page 85, describes how we fell from a beautiful state, and now we are in a very horrible sort of a state of affairs on this planet, wars and famines, etc. We see all these plague type things, and we can't seem to shed this behavior where we have to go fighting and killing other nations, etc. And this is what he says. He's talking about karma, you see, in this chapter, and he says, and he explained that we don't necessarily have to work out karma here on this life. It's not about karma. But he explains human suffering this way. He says, to this we reply, human suffering is the result of innumerable laws, which in their action and reaction produce discord at certain intervals in the scale of human development. For all practical purposes, they may be classed under two general heads, as primary and secondary. The primary cause is that of racial evolution. Each round and each race of the round requires different external conditions in order to evolve its chief attributes. For each round and race become the special means by which a certain one of the soul's attributes is rounded out, as it is termed. Let us illustrate. The first or primal race were those of the Golden Age. They were a purely ethereal race of beings, and cannot be strictly classified with what we know of humanity, nor can they be said to have been really incarnated in gross matter at all. For this reason, their penetrative power was very small. Hence, though highly spiritual, they were correspondingly simple. They lived an ideal life amid semi-spiritual surroundings. The second race, that of the Silver Age, penetrated deeper into matter than their golden forefathers, and their bodies consequently became more dense. Toward the termination of this race and the beginning of the Third or Copper Age, the equator of our racial arc was reached in the descending scale. Here it was that the first murmurings of the mental storm began to manifest themselves. Emigrations and partings took place between what had previously been a united people, and consequently separate national interests began to evolve. When our Earth reaches the equinoctial points of the year, storms and tempests abound. Upon a higher plane, it is the same with the progress of man around the cycle. With the Copper race, a still further descent took place, and still greater increase of self-interest was evolved. From the national was evolved that of the family. Kings ascended thrones, and sacerdotal systems were formulated. The strong began to assert the greater force, and the weak gradually sank into subjection. And a still further descent, and we came to the fourth race, the bottom rung of the cyclic ladder, and fittingly known as the Iron Age. This was the turning point of the seven races, wherein the soul attains its greatest penetrating power. Spirit descend descend no lower. Kings and their priestly counselors became true despots, and the masses the helpless and oppressed. Next comes a higher evolution, the fifth race, beginning at the end of the fourth. That's where we are now, by the way, guys. Reaches up to the equinoctial line of the mental arc in the ascending scale, and consequently, another stormy period commences. All is strife and turmoil. It is the struggle of the oppressed against the oppressor. And by the way, guys, this is where we are now. It's talking about the struggle by the oppressed against the oppressor. But notice that the Copper Age introduced the immigrations and the partings, where previously there was a united people, and separate national interests began to evolve. And then with the coming of the Copper Race, further, it said kings ascended thrones and sacerdotal systems were formulated. Yes, this is when religion began, in the Copper Age. Before that, there was no religion. It was matriarchy, and everyone was in the right brain. In other words, people were connected to the higher source, the higher mind, and so there was no need for priestcraft. But you see, when as we descended, our race was put through, certain rungs of spiritual and material placements, whereby, in the golden age, we were more spiritual and we did not penetrate matter as easily as now in the Iron Age, where spirit cannot descend any lower. We're at the bottom, you see, but we've made the turning point, you see, we've made that point, and we've awakened. The prodigal son has returned, so to speak. And then he goes on to speak about the secondary causes of man's ignorance and the reactions to his animal nature. So, in other words, what he's doing is he's talking about how the race evolves and how the individual evolves on a different plane, you see. So we have an opportunity right now to make conscious decisions to live a more loving existence and a more conscious existence. Even though the race might not even be catching up to this choice that we have made, nonetheless, we do have the choice. The choice is before us all, whether to align with dark forces and fictions such as churches and political movements and organizations, and align ourselves with all of these fictions. Now, we're about to go to a break, so I want to keep this thought. When we get back, I want to discuss these fictions and how they've been perpetrated upon us. You see, it's very easy to perpetrate fictions on the unawares, unsuspecting masses. And all you have to do is corrupt already existing systems. Now, that's what I want to get into. I want to get into the corruption of already existing systems, okay? So let's take a little bit of a break, and we'll follow on with that after the break. Yeah, welcome back. We're on Oracle Broadcasting Network. You're with Santos Bonacci. Girls, I was going to go into straight into the point about co-opting and corrupting already existing systems. But before I do, I neglected to read the last paragraph of that portion of Thomas H. Burgoyne's book, because it's very encouraging, okay? Yes, we've come down from the golden through the silver, through the copper, the bronze, and now the Iron Age, and there's the fifth race, etc. This is what he continues to say. This is interesting. It is not the gentle mental storm of the silver equinox, because a spiritual period of light had preceded that era. But it is the storm of war and bloodshed, of a fierce democracy battling for the rights divine of man against usurped authority. It is thus because the Iron Age of opposition has preceded it. We are at the present day passing through this fearful equinoctial period. Now, he's talking over 100 years ago, right? And he's saying that we're passing through this fearful part. You know, it's a very fearful part of the cycle. The fifth race is coming to a close, and already forerunners of the sixth race are among the people, aiding in the spread of glorious truth. No wonder then that the signs of the times are so significant, and that the real interest in mental and spiritual science is rapidly reawakening within the minds of the masses. Hallelujah. That was 100 years ago. Imagine now.
Wow.
Now, look, in everything, the controllers do a very, very simple thing to control the masses. And what they do is they grab a system of nature or something pre-existing, and they corrupt it. For instance, Big Pharma. Big Pharma produces and sells chemicals taken from pure nature, and then they patent these chemicals and they treat you, right? So you buy their products, which are chemicals which are toxic, and on their products they tell you that they're treating your disease. They're not curing it. They never use the word cure because they're not in the business of curing. So they tell you that they're treating you, you see? So look at how people are tricked. They go to the doctor to get these chemicals and they're just being treated. Let's have a look at our court system. Poor unsuspecting people, I call them poor unsuspecting people, I shouldn't because, well, they're unsuspecting, and they turn up in court thinking they're getting common law, and guess what? They've been pulled off the land and they've been taken into a ship, and the pirate and the captain is the magistrate, and he is dealing with commerce and admiralty law. So they are no longer on their jurisdiction on the land. They are now in a ship, and they've been fooled. Then we have religions, okay? Now, religions are also a fiction just like that, because they co-opt, see, the law people, they grab the laws of nature and pervert them and make legislation and then give you that. And so you think you're getting one thing, but you're getting another. Same thing with Big Pharma. You go to the doctor because you think he's going to give you something that cures you, but it treats you. And you go to your church and you get, rather than truth, you get a copy of that truth, you see. You get a fiction of that truth, and that's the historical version of these beautiful spiritual poems. And so the religions are also laughing at the masses. And in fact, get this, right? Christians have been associated with the fish sign for the last 2,000 years. And the reason being is not just because of the age of Pisces. It's because, you see, they know that the fish are the lowest of the animals on this planet in terms of evolution. Because when God made the animals in Genesis, he made the fish of the sea, the crawling creatures of the land, and the birds of the heavens. So you see, the elite, they take that to mean that the fish will be the lower evolved of mankind, the crawling creatures will be the middle class, and the birds of the heaven will be the elite that will prey on the other animals. You see, because they have the power to fly above the other animals. And this is how they've classed us, and this is why they tell Christians to be fish, like the fish, and associate it with them, because they're in the water, you see, in the water of the pirate's ship. Yeah. How about that, girls? Isn't it?
That is, yeah, that's it. And I was just sitting here thinking about something too. You were talking about religion, but what about politics? Is that not to divide and conquer? You have two parties against each other, so you can divide and conquer, and people are focusing on each other's problems instead of focusing what they should be, which is changing themselves and growing. And another thing too, you mentioned the religion. Do you know what they do in some of those churches? They have these I don't know if they're, you call them priests, but they're dark people, and they do chants and incantations to keep the people. They build their churches on ley lines so that they can keep the frequency of the earth down by sending all these incantations and chants, and the people pick up that spirit and it goes into the earth, and it's really interesting how they use the frequencies to lower the vibration of the earth. And what we need to be doing is bringing the vibration of the earth higher so we can get into that love realm, so we can get out of this construct we're in.
Yeah. And that is exactly what we're doing. This conversation that we're having goes out to the ether forever.
Yes.
And I agree with you, Sandra, about what you had to say about politics. I mean, it was absolutely established in Georgetown University here in the U.S., or there in the U.S., I should say, by Carol Quigley and his Beyond Tragedy and Hope. And in that book, he explains how to have a two-party system that are very much alike. And so what we have now in the United States is a two-party system, but they're just different sides of the same coin. And I was wondering if that's the same way that it is in Australia. Is it just very similar to that, Santos? And, do you have a two-party system that, now it's very difficult to tell a Democrat from a Republican because, first of all, they say exactly what they need to say in any particular state. And sometimes a Democrat can look like a conservative, and a conservative can look like a liberal, So I was wondering if it's like that in Australia also.
Oh yeah. Of course, they've divided this nation by a two-party system, making them think that we have Liberal and Labor Party here, you see. So your Liberal will be like your Republican Party and your Labor will be like your Democratic Party, you see. And Australians, the sheep will think that we've got these two parties, and what a fair system that is, If one party's corrupt, then we can get the other party to come in. Oh my goodness, the whole lot of it is an absolute putrid fiction. I mean, in my world, they don't exist. Nothing of that kind of man's fictional creation exists. For me, there's only the spirit and the love and the consciousness and the bliss that I experience personally and know and love. That's all that exists. I'm not into money. I'm not into career thinking. I'm not into aggressive, get this, get that, and I'm trying to shed all my possessions. I wish I had much less. Unfortunately, I mean, I've still got stuff like leather couches that I've got from my yuppie days when I was a house salesman. I was making $120,000 a year, and I was, and I had a bar full of all sorts of liquors and everything like that, and I had brandy and on my bar and everything like that, and I had nice new cars and beautiful suits, and I would sell homes, you see. So I've still got some of that furniture, and I wish I could just get rid of it and give it to someone and just have my computer, my bed, my dog, and just really just be simple.
That's where I'm at now.
And I will.
I sold my house up on the hill with its leather couch, Santos.
Oh yeah, leather. How many animals does it take to make a leather couch?
I know. A leather couch and a chair that went with it. No, I sold the place furnished, and I'm now living down more in the town, and I walk to everything, and I talk to people. I'm right on the sea, rather than looking down on it.
Beautiful. Let's take a break, and we'll come up in after the break with the final segment of the hour. Oh yeah, power to the people. I'm for that. I'm very for that. Girls, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show, and I hope we can do it again sometime. I know it's late for you, but you've been so kind to come on and share with me. I would love for you to spend 5 minutes each, as we have 10 minutes left. Just give us some words of wisdom and how to proceed in this beautiful age that we live in the future, and what do we need to expect, and what do we need to do to embrace the beautiful stuff that is coming? Sandra, how about you kick it off?
I would love to. I think that more than anything else, we need to look around us and, like take a minute to close your eyes and turn your imagination on and start seeing things differently. Because as we keep looking on all the negative things around us, that's what we become. But if we will just focus on having a new world to live in, a place that is filled with love, a place that we can have the things that, not necessarily things, but be the people that we need to be, and to learn to share our lives with others and stop thinking about ourselves all the time. To begin to appreciate everything around us, and that means nature. Go out and enjoy a sunset every day and watch the sun go down. It's good for your eyes, and it's good for your skin to be out in the sun, because we don't do enough of that. I find myself staying in the house too much, and so I'm trying to spend more time outside in the sunshine, just enjoying nature and breathing. I know the air is not clean, but you know what? We can change that too. We can start focusing on our earth and start focusing on a way that we can do something to change what's going on around us. I believe truly that we can live a life that is pure, that is good, and that we can walk in love. We can get our frequencies higher. We can improve things around us. We can reach out to other people. I'm a healer, so I want to spend more time laying hands on people, getting them well. And I know Rini is a healer too, and we just look for ways that we can just bless other people. And it's not about money. It's not about things. It's about people. We are one. The earth is one with us, and we are one with the earth, and the people of this earth. We're all one, you guys. So I just want to share that with you, and take home with you a way to find a way to start giving, and not taking anymore, but being a giver, because that's the only way you're really going to be fulfilled. And find some joy. Let the joy just fill your heart, because it's there if you open up to it. So there you go.
Yeah. There's nothing more ubiquitous and wonderful and powerful than love. When you feel love, you know that everything is so beautiful. Your body enjoys the feeling, your mind, the peace, the love. I mean, everything is harmonious in the love. But when you get outside of the love, well, then everything starts to get discordant, and everything starts to have friction. And so there's only one place to be. There's only one place to be. The scriptures clearly say, outside of love, there is no law. So, Rini, please, what are your thoughts?
Well, I ditto everything Sandra says, and it's very difficult to follow her. She always has such words of wisdom. For me, I think it's such an individual thing, and that we each find our passion and then follow that. And the material realm is not where it's at. I think we all know that, or we come to a point in our lives where we know that. And it's what we give back in life, I feel, that really stays with us. And I know that whenever I reach out to another human being, I get so much more back from that than I give, And I also feel that I have had to learn patience, because it took me a long time to wake up, I knew there was something wrong, but I could never put my finger on it until it was my time. And I think we all have our time to awaken. I also feel that we can send a lot of love to the town of Guelph, so that they will melt their hearts and really understand what Kate is all about and what she is trying to do there in that town. As you said, Santos, this is really a phenomenal thing that Kate is doing. There's no question in my mind. So keep her in your thoughts and send her as much love, strength, energy, and wisdom as you can. And if anybody can do it, I believe Katie can.
Yeah, we're the ones we've been waiting for, right?
Right, exactly.
For sure. Why do we want to wait around for someone else to come and do it? We're here now. Let's do it.
Get it done.
Here's what Galatians 5:22 says. On the other hand, the fruitage of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, kindness, goodness, faith, mildness, self-control. Against such things there is no law. In other words, you can't go wrong. There is nothing. There is nothing that will go wrong. There is nothing that will there's nothing that you will violate in the universe if you embrace these things.
Exactly.
Right on. I agree totally.
Yeah.
So, and then it goes on to say, go on walking orderly in the Spirit. I mean, that's what spirituality is all about. And yes, let's. I'm confident.
Santos, doesn't God or can't God, G period O period D, stand for good, orderly direction?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
You know,
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
you really can, you know.
That's very good. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's send that love over Kate's way. I'm sure Kate is smiling wherever she is, and Isaac, and they'll be just having a good time because they know the bigger picture. It's not about, sitting in a prison cell for a couple of hours and, and having the indignity or the inconvenience of being put out. It's about what is going to affect the ether out there, that we as individuals reclaim our dominion and refuse and non-comply with the fictions. The fictions are over. If we continue to support the unconscious corporate empire that is striving to be the new world order, oh yes, we want to have a world of unconscious robots with security cameras everywhere and TSA security people making sure that we're safe, and this new world order thinks that it's going to implement itself on this unconscious brand of race of human beings. I don't think so. People, let's just stand up. Let's just embrace the love each other. For now is the time. There's only 10 months to go until a big 0 point of the cycle comes, and who knows what it will bring. So why don't we prepare ourselves now, lose the name, win the game, get out of the system, deflate the fiction, people. Do it with your co-creative powers, for we are the ones that we've been waiting for. As the Hopi Indians say, everything you do it with passion, do it with soul, do it with love, for we are the ones we have been waiting for. Embrace the love. And because that's all there is. And if we don't know that yet, we need to wake up to that fact. Girls, thank you so kindly once again. Really enjoyed it. And as I said, I hope we can do this another time and share our words of enlightenment with people. And hopefully we have an audience that appreciates it. I know we do. Oracle Broadcasting people are very, very conscious and enlightened. Take care, girls, and we'll talk soon. Bye, listeners, and catch you next week. Same time. Bye-bye.